Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Game Development Log video diary, and this week I've made some good progress on the Entity Editor. So here is the Entity Editor program, and it's still very much a work in progress, so do forgive the poor layout in some cases. But I'm going to go ahead and create a new static entity, and I get a load of settings here to choose from. So I can change the ID and set how the entity should be rendered and choose the model. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the tree model here, and you can see it there in the preview. Then we've got this radius setting here, which is for frustum culling to give an approximation of how big the object is, and I've added a show radius option to give a visual representation of that setting. This visibility setting here determines the distance at which the object stops being rendered, and this button here gives a preview of that distance. There are also a couple of settings here to do with water and to do with whether an object can be seen underwater and if it has a reflection or a limited reflection. So I'm going to add a texture now to the tree, and I'm going to choose this tree texture atlas. So this is a texture atlas with 4 different tree textures in it, so I need to indicate that by setting the number of rows in the atlas here. So now the texture maps properly to the model, and if I select has transparency, it also renders the transparency correctly. So you can see that the preview is switching between the available textures in the texture atlas, and that's because I have this rotate textures setting on, which I can turn off if I want. I also added a few other preview options, such as an option to stop the camera rotating and another option that shows the player model so that you can compare the size of your entity to the player's height. You can of course save and open entity files, so I'll open this one here that I made earlier, which is the lamp entity. So in last week's devlog I talked about how I'd converted my game to use a component based architecture, and so in the entity editor I added this option to add additional components to your entity. I'm still working on this, so I only have 2 possible components at the moment, but you can add a component to an entity like this, which creates a little component tab below. If you click on a components tab, it will open up the settings for that component, which I haven't got round to doing for the collision boxes yet, but I have mostly managed to do for the particle effects. So there's loads of different particle settings here, and you can see it already showing up in the preview. The first thing I'm going to do is to change the offset, and this will emit particles from a different position on the entity. I can then go ahead and alter some of these settings, such as the speed at which particles are emitted. I can also change the number of particles that are created per second, and I can also set how long the particles stay alive for. So I can mess around with these settings and create a load of cool effects, and I can make the particles bigger or smaller, and even choose how much they are affected by gravity. I haven't quite added functionality to those error boxes on the right yet, but when I have, it will allow me to set error margins for all of these settings, adding a bit more randomness to the particles' behaviours. I've also implemented the different spawn shapes, such as the circle spawn here, and this just emits particles from the surface of this circle, which I can orientate in any direction by setting the normal settings. I can also demonstrate the directional settings here, which choose the direction in which particles are emitted, so I'll set that to the positive Y direction and turn up the speed, and all the particles will be shot upwards. Let's now have a look at the sphere spawn, which emits particles from within the volume of a sphere. It looks pretty nice, and I can also change the size of the sphere by adjusting the radius settings. Finally, there's the line spawn, which I'll set the direction of so that it runs along the x-axis, and then I can increase its length. And if I add some gravity and stuff, it all looks very lovely. So loads of possibilities for creating cool effects here, and there'll be even more next week because I still need to add the option to change the particles' textures and to implement particle targets. So that is it for this week. If you're interested in having a go with my dev kit and maybe even using it to make content for my game once I've finished programming all the development tools, then do send me an email if you haven't already. Next week I'll be finishing off the entity editor, adding all the other components and allowing it to also act as an NPC creator as well. If you're interested in my progress during the week, then do follow me on Twitter, Facebook or IndieDB. Links are in the description for all my social media pages. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next time.